Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over a dealership group that is in trouble with the FTC for some shady business practices. But before we get into the video, if you don't want to get taken advantage of like the people we're going to go over in this story, link to my car buying guide in the description down below so that if dealerships do try this shady stuff on you, that you have these skills to fight back in. Link in the description down below. Let's get right into the story. So this story pertains to the Napleton Automotive Group and the FTC, and we've got a pretty crazy headline here. $10 million fee, we've got discrimination happening, and we have junk fees being charged to customers that ends in a pretty ugly case. Now let's first get into the fees, let's get into the discrimination, and then we're going to get into who is actually being charged and why it's such a big number, $10 million. So first off, from a fee perspective, basically what was happening is several dealerships within the Napleton Automotive Group were tacking on fees in multiple different ways. So first off, what they're doing is they were advertising cars online, and this is going to sound very familiar to a lot of you, and again, why you should get the car buying course, is they were advertising cars online at a certain price, and then once people would go into the dealership, the price would either change or there would be fees associated with that car that were not disclosed in the online ad. And so that's part of the complaint. The other part of the complaint is fees being added on top of the car purchase in the financing portion. And there are products you can purchase when you buy a car, but what was basically happening is these people were told that they had to buy these products to get their loan approved, or that they were getting these products for free, but in reality, they were actually paying for them, which is illegal. So if the dealership is doing things the proper way, then what they're telling people is reality, right? And sometimes some lenders, believe it or not, will actually ask that a car has a warranty on it, like an aftermarket warranty put on it, for them to approve someone's loan. That actually does happen. But there's a bunch of paperwork that has to be signed and it has to be disclosed in a certain way, and that's not what these dealerships were doing. These people were able to get these loans approved without these warranties and other products added onto them, but they were still telling the people, nope, this is how it is. So again, they're in that kind of like gray area that's, again, obviously slipped over into the illegal side of things. And then on the other side of things, in terms of products, they have to be disclosed if the person is paying for them, and it has to be disclosed how much the person's paying for them. And they actually, with most states, you have to sign a form for every single product that you purchase. So if you purchase paint protection, if you purchase leather protection, whatever it is, you have to sign a form saying you are purchasing this. And so it sounds like what this dealership group was doing is they're saying, oh, it's for free. And so they weren't having people sign these forms. And then just at the end of the contract, basically, the people were ultimately paying for it. Again, that's what it sounds like, but, right, we don't have a whole lot of information on this case, so who knows exactly what it was. But the main gist of it is that people were basically getting told they had to pay certain fees to get approved for a car or to buy a car, or they were getting certain products for free, and in reality, they were actually paying for them. And this amounted to $70 million in add-ons, $70 million. And so, getting a $10 million fee for what they charge, charging people $70 million, right? It's not exactly equal, but at least they're getting, charged something. Now, on the discrimination side of things, some of these dealerships are located in states like Florida, Pennsylvania, Missouri, and basically they were discriminating against the black population that was coming and purchasing cars from them. And the way they were discriminating against them is they were showing them interest rates that were significantly higher than what they were showing to white customers and Hispanic customers that had credit situations and income situations that were identical. And the rate differences were absolutely astronomical. So the difference for these customers was 18.4 basis percentage points more in interest compared to customers that had identical income and credit situations to them, which is just doesn't make sense whatsoever. And on top of charging or showing them higher interest rates and making them pay more interest on their auto loan than what they actually qualified for, they were also adding on other additional fees. There was basically like a base $99 fee for every single customer that came in. And so again, they're also getting these charges based on race discrimination, which is, yeah, just crazy that all that's happening. And So you guys are probably wondering, after all this shady stuff that's happening where they're charging people fees that they shouldn't be charged, and they're also discriminating against people, who's actually going to get charged for this? And so they didn't exactly disclose, but I assume that it's going to be multiple parties within the dealership group and within the individual dealerships as well, because that's typically how these legal things get sorted out. So the $10 million, I don't think it's just going to the automotive group. I think that they're getting charged $10 million total, but it's going to go to partially towards the group and partially towards other individuals. Now, the reason that it is that way is whenever there's any sort of like legal stuff happening, there's multiple parties that are actually accountable. So with this being, a large automotive group, there's going to be individuals running the automotive group itself that will probably be liable for the situation. The automotive group, right, as a whole will be liable for this situation. So again, think of it as like a corporate entity, right? So the corporate entity might have individuals within it that'll be liable. The corporate entity itself will also be potentially liable, depending on exactly what the FTC decides. And then within individual dealerships, there will also be people that'll be charged, not just the dealership itself, but individuals in the dealership. And the two main people that I see being charged are the finance managers and the general manager, because of how much stuff they have to sign from a paperwork perspective. And it's kind of, the best way to put it is they're basically the people that are ultimately running the dealership business. Like, they're the people that, the finance managers, for example, are the ones that are running all these contracts and charging all these fees and everything. And so they can be directly involved in any sort of like law cases or, cases like this where the dealership is getting sued for different reasons. And so those are the two parties that I see also potentially having to pay out fees and potentially have prison sentences as well. And so, yeah, it's just going to be just a whole mess. And at the end of this, with all these accusations and with the FTC coming after them, of course, the automotive group is completely denying that they're doing this. And they're not necessarily denying that they're doing this. They're denying that they are in the wrong on this, essentially is what it sounds like. And so they're currently working with the FTC to resolve the case. But they're not coming. They're basically coming out and saying that they were doing the right thing, and it's like, kind of like a misunderstanding is what it sounds like. And so yeah, it's just an absolute mess. Now, the last part of this video, I actually want to talk about the scarier part of the situation and the fact that this it definitely is not an isolated situation. This is something that is happening at dealerships all across the country and frankly all across the world as well. It's something that I talk about in the course, so I guess I'll give like a quick little sneak peek into the course, where there's something that's called like a 5-finger close, basically, where a person at a dealership will just have you sign a bunch of paperwork without really giving you the time to read through it. They'll just be like, oh, this is just this, sign here. This is just this, sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. And the documents that they're giving these customers, it was like 50, 60 pages long, right? They were counting on people not reading all of the papers associated with these documents. And so, like I said, I don't think that this is isolated to this automotive group, and I think that we're going to continue to see these cases pop up, especially with this on the news. We're going to continue to see this cases like this pop up across the nation and in dealerships across the world of these practices, right, of people paying fees that they thought they were getting for free, and dealerships tacking on fees because they feel like they can take advantage of certain groups of people. And so, yeah, it's just a crappy situation all around. And again, that's part of the reason why I made that car buying course, was to help people out, because I think that in situations like this, right, there's horrible situations where people get taken advantage of, and that's just that. But on the flip side of things, with proper education in situations like this, then, not necessarily all of it could have been prevented, but a lot of this could have been prevented. And so that's why I guess in a perfect world, there would be like massive amounts of like financial education so that people knew, like, for example, on the customers getting charged a higher interest rate than what they qualified for, people knowing what interest rate they actually qualify for, so then they don't get taken advantage of on that side of things. And so yeah, again, crappy situation all around. I want you guys to let me know what you think about the situation. What do you think should be done to fix this situation? My personal opinion is, obviously, if dealerships are doing shady things, then yes, they need to be held accountable. But I also think that there needs to be more, there needs to be more education to help people out, so then they don't fall. There's not as many people that fall into these situations, so then it becomes a much smaller problem than it is currently today. And I'll see you guys.